Thank you very much for showing up, guys. There's a lot of censorships, like we said earlier, but we're here to stay.
Welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. I'm just home from the Million People March downtown Ottawa from Parliament Hill. Went down Elgin Street, went down Wellington Street, went down some side streets, came up Kent Street, had a wonderful afternoon, wonderful morning. We'll be back to discuss that and breaking news out of the Universal Ostrich Farms. I've got a text from Katie Passaday with the latest update. We'll be right back. This is very, very exciting.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to lie.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist.
Yes, please like the station and please subscribe. We really can't exist without your subscriptions. We thank you. Resubscribe if you have to. So this was the day, September 20th, here in Ottawa and across the country for the million-person march. Was it as big as it has been in the past? Probably not. Was it as effective? I think so, in many, many ways. We'll be getting into some interviews from that momentarily. But before we get there, I want to give you the latest from Universal Ostrich Farms. And I literally, just before broadcasting live here from Ottawa, I got this text message from Katie at the Universal Ostrich Farms, and she's got some very good news for me because I said, I'm just about to go on the air. Katie, can you give me an update? It's all peaceful and calm. And she responded within 5 minutes. She says, yes, everything is peaceful and calm at the moment. We're sitting on the edge of our seats for the next 24 hours. They are trying to come in and kill. We had one beautiful win. Now get this. Please say thank you to Clearway Car and Truck Rental out of Abbotsford, British Columbia. For once they learned what their vans were being used for by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency because they rented from them. They have demanded their vans back because they do not support the killing of healthy animals. Wow. Isn't that incredible? So Clearway, shout out to Clearway Car and Truck Rentals out of Abbotsford for refusing to go be a death squad for the Carney government. They said no. This is incredible news. Please request on our show if you are the contractor who's been asked to kill these animals. Do the right thing. Be on the right side of history, Katie tells me. All you have to do is say no. That these animals need to be tested before you kill to make sure they are sick, not healthy. And they are healthy. This is the insanity. This is not Katie talking right now. This is me talking. This is the insanity of this order. You don't kill healthy animals. The healthy animals will give their good genes to offspring, and they will give genetic and herd immunity. This is how you resist viruses and disease, not through endless vaccinations and culling of the herds. This is insanity. Katie further writes, the contractors have the opportunity to be an international hero by standing up and saying no to the killing of healthy animals. The contractor that will be killing for Canadian Food Inspection Agency. And that's all you'll be remembered for, any contractor who agrees to do this. And I'm going to show Katie's latest message before we get into the events of today.
So, obviously, I've been a little bit excited because we have one of the first heroes. Our first hero was the regional district of the Kootenay boundaries by setting a precedence that we're not going to dump healthy animals. And they said no to taking these animals in the Ootachinnia landfill without testing to prove illness. I have to correct something, and I am so sorry. It is Clearway Car and Truck Rentals is the company that was hired or hired out their rentals to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency to carry out this awful act, this tyrannical act of killing healthy animals. They had no idea that their vans were going to be used by Canadian Food Inspection Agency to kill these ostriches, and when they found out, Clearway Car and Truck Rentals said no. We're going to demand all of our rentals back from this company, and we don't want to be have any part of that. So I just want to say thank you to Clearway Car and Truck Rentals. Correction, you flood them with emails and you flood them with calls of thank you. You are our second heroes. One of many heroes that we're going to have in this, because next it's going to be the contractor. The contractor is going to say no. You will be the next hero, internationally known for standing up on the right side of Canadian history and doing what's right. Clearway Car and Truck Rentals, thank you. You are a hero. Regional District Kootenay Boundaries, thank you. You're a hero. To our MP Scott Anderson, to our MLAs Jordan Keeley and David Williams, Tara Armstrong, Dallas Brody, thank you. Thank you for standing up for what's right. The next, we're calling on Saturday Miracles, and it's going to be the contractor. You will be international as one of the greatest heroes in history, Canadian history right now, to save these animals and stand on the right side of history, doing the right thing to create change for all Canadians, small farmers across Canada. Thank you, Clearway Car Truck Rentals in the Lower Mainland. Please tell them thank you. It's a Miracle Saturday.
Yeah, I didn't want to cut that off at the end. She's, God bless you all. And tells me, she's been in prayer. She's been praying for a miracle, and think they got one today. There's more to come. Keep it up, Katie. Keep it up, Katie. You're a brave, courageous woman. Keep fighting for what's right, and you will be vindicated. And we're with you. All of our love and support from this station, and everybody who's told me today at the Million People March for Children. By the way, they said, thanks for your coverage of Universal Ostrich Farms, because their fight is our fight. This is about government intrusion, government telling people how to live, what to do, how they can raise their family, how they can make their livelihood. How would you feel if the government came into your front door and said, give us your dog or your cat? We're going to kill it. Why? Just because we think it might have had some kind of virus 10 months ago. And can I test the cat or dog to see if it's safe? No, you can't. And if you do so, 6 months in jail, $200,000 fine. Yeah, that's what they're facing at Universal Ostrich Farms, and they're fighting back. What a family of dedicated freedom fighters. These are heroic people. And, Katie has done a better job getting the word out to media agencies around the world, especially in Canada and the United States, than some professional public relations teams can do. I don't think she ever knew she was going to have to fight so hard for her family farm, for her livelihood, for the ostriches she loves, for the agriculture industry that she's so much a part of. I don't think she ever knew she was going to have to be in this position, but she is, and she's risen to the occasion. Thank you for all of you out there who have been supportive of the work that we're doing. Yes, every time we talk about this issue, it gets suppressed, but we're going to keep talking about it because it's the right thing to do. I'm not here to do propaganda for the Liberal government or the Conservative opposition that refuses to say a word about this. Horrible. Here's another win for, yeah, I love this. We showed you the video earlier this week of the military-style helicopters. They could be RCMP, they could be military, we're not sure. Very hard to see in the dark. But these are helicopters shining lights on the farm, intimidating the people there, trying to make them afraid. And get this, that was seen so widely because not just myself, but Rebel News, Viva Fry, they put it on X, we put it on Facebook, it went around the world. Helicopters flying over BC Ostrich Farm are unrelated to call, says RCMP. That was so effective. That video was so effective, the RCMP had to officially deny it. Do you believe them? Not for a minute. I don't believe the RCMP anymore. They worked for Justin Trudeau. They work for Mark Carney. They are so politicized, I don't believe a word they say. This is their public affairs people working overtime, and I don't believe a word of it. Not a word of it. Before we get to the Million People March, and believe me, we'll be back talking about this again tomorrow. I'm following what's going on that farm. Katie keeps me briefed on an hourly basis as to what's happening, and we will be there live if we have to be. Here's Daniel Smith, talking about the notwithstanding clause. The Liberal government, I couldn't believe this. The Liberal government wants to amend, not the Constitution. They want the Supreme Court to put in guidelines or limitations to how provinces can invoke the notwithstanding clause, Section 33 of the Constitution. And that is absolutely out of bounds. You want to change the notwithstanding clause, Section 33 of our Constitution? That will require a constitutional amendment. Now, I've got some constitutional law experts lined up in the next couple of days to talk about this. We're not going to do that today. But clearly, you can't tell the Supreme Court to change the notwithstanding clause just because you don't like what provinces are doing with it. Okay, they don't like what Quebec is doing with it, with cultural changes, but they really don't like what Daniel Smith is doing it. She's using it to protect children from mutilation and to protect children from pornography in elementary schools. And they don't want that. The Liberal government, Sean Fraser, the Attorney General, doesn't want to protect children. What a joke. He wants children to be at the mercy of school boards that are hostile to children. The notwithstanding clause is integral to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and an unassailable provincial constitutional right. Premier Daniel Smith of Alberta wrote in an ex-post last night. I've requested an interview with Daniel Smith at the earliest opportunity. Press secretary says they're working on it. While the Alberta government does not support the content of Quebec's Bill 21, we stand shoulder to shoulder with Quebec's constitutional rights. And that's what it comes down to. This is what this government is up to. Now, let's show a bit of the excitement today.
So we're in front of Parliament Hill in Ottawa. This is the third annual Million People March for Children. It's a great day. We hope to get over 1 million people across Canada from Halifax to Victoria out today. And what the message is very clear and very simple. Hands off our kids. We want a government that minds its own business, that does not try to raise our children for us. This is about parental rights. This is about children being safeguarded from indoctrination in schools, from the trans indoctrination, from LGBTQ plus indoctrination. This is about saving kids from mutilation under the guise of so-called gender affirming care, quote unquote. So organizer Camille Al-Sheikh will be joining us later, and we'll be talking more about this. But a couple of events we're also watching today very, very closely, and that's the events at the Universal Ostrich Farm in British Columbia. I have been in close contact with Katie Fassadney all week. She's the spokesperson and the daughter of the co-owner. She's been telling me they're expecting a detachment squad of some kind. It could be a local contractor, could still be the RCMP.
Help! They're trying to kill 400 of us ostriches for no good reason. We are healthy. Test us for research. We beat the avian flu.
They don't want to see health. They don't want they don't want a test that shows that they're healthy. We've been being threatened 6 months in jail and a $200,000 fine for testing. We have proof that they're eggs through egg yolk that we have shows that they are not sick.
We're not entirely sure. We can't confirm 100%. But that killing of 399 ostriches could occur as early as tonight. We'll be in touch with Katie throughout the day to see what happens. However, a beacon of hope here, because the farm has appealed to the Supreme Court of Canada to get the killing stopped. And the Supreme Court has not given an answer on this. And it's Saturday. Don't expect an answer from the Supreme Court over the weekend.
And I taped that early this morning, early Saturday. At that point, I was not aware that the trucks were not going to be lent out, that there was a change there. So foiled today, hopefully foiled for the rest of the day and the evening as well.
Delay things. I'm hoping and praying for that. Our hearts and our prayers are with Katie and her family today and with those ostriches. This is a completely unnecessary so-called culling. These are healthy ostriches. They've been so for almost a year now. These are the survivors who developed herd immunity. It's insanity to kill the healthy ones. This is about bureaucracy, globalism, adherence to the World Economic Forum, to the World Health Organization, and not Canadian interests. This is an invasion of private property. Complete invasion of a farm, taking away their livestock and their livelihood, literally killing it. This has got to stop. Another thing on the horizon today, we just learned that the federal government, Justice Minister, Attorney General Sean Fraser wants the Supreme Court to put limits on the use of the Notwithstanding clause by provinces. Sorry, you can't do that, Sean, without a constitutional amendment. And that's not an easy thing to get. Let's remember the Notwithstanding clause is what cemented the acceptance of the Constitution. It was a compromise between then Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau and then Alberta Premier Peter Lougheed. Peter Lougheed agreed to support the Constitution and the Charter of Rights if Section 33, the Notwithstanding clause, was included in that package. To start placing limits on it would mean who interprets what is acceptable? Who interprets what a provincial decision to use the Notwithstanding clause is acceptable, is the right decision? Obviously, that's going to be the Liberal government or the Supreme Court itself. That decision should be left to the provinces. So we're going to be following this story. I have talked to a number of people about this yesterday who were close to the issue of constitutional law, and we'll be talking about that more tomorrow and throughout the week. This is a very, very dangerous proposal from the federal government. We'll have more for you as the day progresses. Thanks for watching. This has been David Krayden doing Stand on Guard in Krayden's Right. And this show will be continue to broadcast later today. We'll have the broadcast about those events today.
You beautiful bird. Yes.
Can't handle the truth.
Resolve to resist.
Do you think we're living in crazy times, folks? You know, I said that to the organizer of the Million People March for Children, my good friend and colleague. I'm proud to call him my good friend and colleague, Camille El-Sheikh, who is Muslim, but who I think it represents why different faiths can work together and how different faiths can work together and why they should, so we can stop the more crazy government policies from taking more root. We're going to uproot these policies because we have a lot in common when it comes to wanting our children to have the best, wanting to raise our children by ourselves without the government telling us how to do it, not wanting the state to raise our children, because we know states that raise children are always totalitarian ones, like the one that existed in Germany between 1930 and 1945, like the one that existed in the Soviet Union between 1917 and 1991. That was a state where children were raised by the state. We don't want that in Canada. So here's Camille. Before we went out on our march today, I interviewed Camille. Beautiful sunny day in Ottawa. I've never seen a bluer blue sky than I did today. Was that a good omen? Was that God saying we are doing the right thing here? I think so. Sky today, and I'm here with the organizer of the 3rd annual Million People March for Children. I've been at every one.
You're part of the movement, the organization itself. It's a Canadian movement.
Well,
and there's leaders throughout Hands Off Our Kids, and it's Canadians like you and I.
Well, I know you worked so hard, and I'm with Camille El-Sheikh, who is the organizer of this and the Hands Off Our Kids campaign, which is not just in September. This is about not participating in pride flag raising ceremonies in June.
Yes, My
This-
Child June campaign. Yeah, that's correct.
And this is an all-year campaign. It's not just the 1 year. And so why are we out here again this year, Camille?
Well, here's the thing. In a world that's very noisy, I mean, me and you, David, were talking about the ostrich farm, the craziness there. We were talking about inflation at some point. We're talking about an unsustainable consumer price index that's leaving seniors of ours that contributed to the nation in the past and developing us homeless. And there's this social uncertainty of when am I going to put food on the table for many Canadians? And then there's also the question of, I love my kids, and when a politician, a sitting politician, says that there are no Canadian parental rights in Canada, that's concerning to a lot of Canadians. And what we say is, this event is for every loving mother, every loving father and grandparent and aunts and uncles and friends that have kids that say, we trust Canada's parents to parent Canada's kids. It's a very simple idea, but at this time, with this uncertainty and all these isms and paradigms, somehow it's seen as taboo in the past couple of years. And that's concerning to a lot of Canadians. And the Million People March is reaffirming our unity, our commitment to that Canadian flag as one nation under God, one nation, one flag, and that's the Canadian flag. You're an evangelical Christian, those are evangelical kids. They grow up, they become Catholic. Well, that's for the parents to deal with. We don't tell the state, well, you know what, can you raise my kids to come back to being evangelical or Muslim or whatever, or Sikh. What we're saying is we trust Canada's parents to parent Canada's kids, and the Million People March is a testament to that. It's an affirmation. It's bringing parents together and telling the nation, the unions, the corporations, and Radical Pride, and not all people in the Pride community agree with this, that we trust Canada's parents to parent Canada's kids. And I'm repeating that again because it's an affirmation that's echoed throughout the country.
Well, I asked you the other day when we last did an in-studio interview. Conservative leader and official opposition leader Pierre Poilievre has a couple of times anyway, spoken about a government that minds its own business. And I wish he were here today.
I like that quote.
And I wish he were saying that every week. Isn't that what we want? A government that just leaves the raising of children to the parents and not the state.
And at Hands Off Our Kids, since day one, almost 3 years ago today, what we've said, okay, now we got somebody that's very aggressive right now. Yeah, that's fine. So that's the kind of behavior that we have, is somebody just, scolded one of our parents. And that's the mentality that we have in this country. You were speaking about Pierre Poilievre, the opposition leader, and him saying, let hands off the kids, or he's echoed us a couple times. Even in Alberta, he stood by a person with a heterosexual shirt, and then he comes back. What we ask Mr. Poilievre, however the nation decides, is please be stern in your convictions and act upon that. Do you support Hands Off Our Kids and the initiative of parents parenting Canada's kids? Our values are made public. And I'm not just saying that to Pierre Poilievre. Maxime Bernier came of the PPC, and he endorsed the event the first year. We asked Mr. Bernier, thank you very much for your support. A lot of our folks were in every party and went into the elections and were nonpartisan. We asked Mr. Bernier, can you reaffirm that and continue that solidarity? For Mr. Carney, you're Canada's Prime Minister, therefore you're my Prime Minister. Your predecessor condemned us, and he said that publicly, and he funded $1.5 million to counter our first Million People March, calling us right-wing fascists, condemning Muslim and Christian families. These are honest Samaritans. Mr. Carney, would you like to fix that? You have that opportunity right now. Come walk with us. So we're trying to hold all politicians accountable. We're a nonpartisan organization. We also celebrate the politicians that stood by us, like Team Calgary, with Mahmoud Murra or Anil in Edmonton or Joe Abdelhak, they stood stern, and Premier Daniel Smith, we're going to give you applause. You took the books out of the school. You responded, but that's not enough. We want you to do more, and we're glad you're being stern in that. What we're asking for is politicians, not just give us sound bites to take some of our populists to vote for them. Be genuine and be transparent. Stand stern, even if you're going to be temporarily scolded. Stand stern by parents. That's what established this nation, is parents.
Yes.
You
yes.
come from a parent.
Thank you, Camille.
Thank you so much, Camille, for that. That was a great moment with my good friend Camille El-Sheikh, who is instrumental in getting this off the ground every year, and he's doing a fantastic job. Here's one of the other folks who was there, and I did some interviews before the march started, and enjoy this too.
So I'm standing out here within your name, sir.
Jackson Drift.
And we can find you on X and Facebook. And
That's correct.
That's great. So what brings you out in this beautiful Ottawa day? We got the Million People March for Children. We've got people on Wellington Street here protesting in the Freedom Convoy spirit. What brings you out today?
Well, first of all, I have to say that it's not a convoy. If there's any organization, it's a caravan, because a convoy was deemed very negative. So we're going to go with caravan in the future. I came here for this. It's my first time ever. I came here because there's too much crime and corruption in our country. Our children aren't safe anymore. And today we have a march for the children. Hands off our children. I myself don't have children, but I'm at a point in life where I want to know if that's something I should even consider or not. And the way that crime is on the rise does not encourage any of these lifestyles. Just here to spread awareness, take part, and to see things for myself instead of waiting for CTV to tell me what they want me to believe.
Yeah, and so you think the government should keep its hands off kids? I heard Pierre Poilievre say one time he would want a government that minds its own business. Doesn't say that often enough, do you think?
I definitely believe that parents should have the right to raise their own children. I was raised in a time where it was under my roof, it's my rules. When you left the house, you abided by society's regulations and standards. You went to school and you followed the rules at school, and you listened to your teacher. There's definitely been a slide in authority figures, and I'm not sure how to reverse that. I don't think that's so easy, but parents need to be able to raise their kids how they want them in the belief systems, whatever it may be, religion or morals or values. Parents should, and I believe they still do, but they should keep the right to raise their children how they see fit.
Yeah.
As long as it's within the law. Somebody who's not causing harm to others should be allowed to just live their life.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a great day.
Great.
Yeah, we're back again. That was interesting, because that's what I heard all day from folks who were there. They're there because they think basic foundational rights in Canada are being eroded, and we've got to do something about it. This was a real pleasure to talk to Howard, who was at just about every protest that fights for freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion. This is a guy, and he lends his expertise at making signs to these protests. And
Howard, who is a mainstay at Freedom Convoy protests and the Million People March for Children. So Howard, you're back again this year. You're at so many events fighting for free speech, freedom of assembly, which of course are endangered in Canada. Why are you here again today?
Well, it is for the children in their future. Schools are right now indoctrinating them. Society is indoctrinating them. They're over-sexualizing them way too early. I don't see how people disagree with what we're doing and saying for families and for young, innocent children. They need to stop that in schools and stop pushing it in the government and bring back their innocence, if that's even possible.
Yes. Now we've got another clip here. I have to retrieve it, but this was absolutely fascinating for me because this is an individual who came to Canada from China 28 years ago. And I asked her, Alice Young is her name, and I asked her, what do you think about the way Canada has progressed over the years? And this is what Alice had to say.
We have like a pronouns. What is the pronouns for? They are definitely to boxing our children, and then they can lead them to anywhere. This is what we experienced when the chairman want us to be the little red guards. With little red guards, you need to do certain things. You have to follow the lead. First, you need to be boxed. They give you an identity, like you are she or he or she or those things, right? So This is another thing. What else? So,
well, since you've been in Canada, has Canada become more like the China you left?
I want to tell you how to prove it. Definitely we are under dictatorship. That's so, the proof. I want to talk one thing specifically because I'm kind of two things. First, the first time I realized Canada is a socialist country is when I realized why the milk, eggs, everything so expensive, then the cost across the board. Because later, learning from Maxime Bernier, Honorable Mr. Maxime Bernier, we have a supply management, not a supply chain management. It's a totally different thing. Supply management is the same thing with Chinese central planning economic policy. It's built up by the bureaucrats, not the free market fair competition.
And that's so this is a woman who came to Canada from China, and she thinks Canada has become more like China in the last 28 years since she's been here. So got another one for you here. Here we go.
The Million People March is respected throughout the country. You're representing the Million People March in this nation's capital and here in Ottawa. There are people mobilizing across the country, and there's going to be censorships. That's happened, and we've accepted that. And people are being crucified for standing up for the truth, including myself and Mr. Krayden and all our reporters. But I want to promise you this, ladies and gentlemen. I just finished an interview with Joe Warmington of the Toronto Sun yesterday, who, I don't know if you've read the transgender article. He did the Million People March article on the transgender. And it's a follow-up for the Million People March today. We did interviews in Arabic as well. I'd like to thank the people of Sad al-Mashriq in Montreal, our good friends Hussein, Fatima, and Dareen for conducting the interview. And they told us, give us a week. No, you actually have 5 hours, please. And so they were able to get the article out to mobilize Arabic-speaking Canadians who care about Canada's kids and all of Canada's kids. I want to thank Mr. Krayden for being out there, highly vocal, standing stern in this cause. And he does get censorships too for standing by Canadians and all kinds of, oppression throughout this country. And thank you for your interview, sir. Thank you for continuing to be a staple in this movement. This movement is for every parent throughout the country. You might be a Protestant parent. You might be an evangelical parent. You might be a Buddhist parent or an atheist Canadian. We have atheist Canadians on our team. Ask Jeff Evely of Nova Scotia, who just got a $28,000 fine for violating, apparently, walking into the forest. He got a $28,000 fine. That's the injustice that we see in this country. And Jeff Evely is a dad, and he served our military and he's a retired man working, and he ran for the PPC. Unfortunately, he didn't win, but he's always winning in our hearts at Hands Off Our Kids. Dr. Ann Gillies, she's going to be in the Toronto protest at Queen's Park. She's getting censored. She's a therapist. Her license is at stake, ladies and gentlemen. An evangelical Christian, I think she's Catholic, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I apologize, Dr. Ann. We're good friends. I hope we could still go for coffee if I messed this up. And so Dr. Ann Gillies wrote about 6 books, and the Mosaic group that she runs, she's getting ostracized everywhere she goes. But if you meet Dr. Ann Gillies, that's a tough cookie, and she walks all over the country doing those conferences, and she's willing to be crucified for truth. We got a kid like Josh Alexander, who's my son's age.
Of course, we had Josh Alexander's dad, Matt Alexander, on the show a month or so ago, and Josh Alexander's mother and father have been unable to work as teachers since Josh Alexander's decided to stand up for these girls at his high school and say the girls are uncomfortable with boys using the girls' washrooms. And he was kicked out of school and unable to graduate. And his parents lost their jobs. For what? Because they were the mother and father of Josh Alexander, and because neither of them showed sufficient enthusiasm for Gay Pride Month. That's the Canada we have today, folks. It's sad. It's very sad. We're going to continue to fight, though. We're going to continue to fight on this issue. And we didn't get the highest numbers ever in Ottawa today. And the numbers from across the country are still coming in. I'll have those for you tomorrow in tomorrow's report. But it's very important to look at things right now. On the same day the 1 million person march occurred, we had a bit of a miracle in British Columbia at the Universal Ostrich Farms. And Katie, thank you for sharing that with us. And for everybody who's out there right now at the farm, thank you. This is in Edgewood, BC. It's not far from Kelowna. Thank you for your courage, your guts and determination to stand up for farmers, to stand up for basic property rights. And this is what the 1 million person march was about today. It's about parents having the right to raise their children. This goes back millennia. This is not some fad that came out of democracy. Any society that usurps the right of parents to raise their children inevitably falls into totalitarianism. Now, we've described the government of Canada as a narco-tyranny, and that's what it is. It goes after farmers with healthy ostriches in their backyard. It violates their property rights. It violates their right to a livelihood, and it goes after parents. Justin Trudeau worked hard to take kids away from their parents so the state could raise them, so schools could raise them. That's not the Canadian way. That's not democratic. That's not what we've inherited from 1,000 years of movement from slavery to democracy, from a state where we were under the thumb of feudalism or under the thumb of monarchies, to having the freedom to say, we govern ourselves. We make those decisions. We are free people. And that's what this government of Marxist carney, just like the government of Justin Trudeau, wants to take away most of all from us, is our rights as citizens. We'll continue to watch what's happening at the Universal Ostrich Farm throughout the weekend, including tonight. I want to hear that there's been no change, and we'll be watching again tomorrow. I'm either going to do an early broadcast tomorrow at 9:30 because I'm singing in my church tomorrow, or I'm going to do one when I get back, depending upon what's happening in the morning. I've also got an article to do for the Post Millennial on what happened today, because I do that every year. And I'm going to do a Substack as well. Wait for it, on the events of the past few days and why the government is trying to change the parameters of the Notwithstanding clause, because they want to stop provinces from stopping bad legislation. And that's all this has to do with. Please share this broadcast with your friends and family. Let them know, because I'll tell you, I'm not going to get any support for this broadcast from YouTube, but we're on Rumble as well. And in the next week, we're going to be looking at your Rumble rants and your super chats. Keep them up, keep them coming, because we'll be sharing them. And believe me, I have not yet begun to fight. And I talked to Katie yesterday at the farm, and she said, this is not over. We're fighting back. We're going to be on the right side of history. And we're not going to just roll over for the government. We are going to keep fighting back, pushing back as much as we have to. I'm urging passive resistance if anybody comes on that farm, because it worked for Mahatma Gandhi, it worked for Martin Luther King Jr. We cannot allow this to happen. We cannot allow this to happen. This is extreme government overreach, and it's tyranny in its barest, most brutal form. Keep pushing back, folks. Keep pushing back, because that's what this country should still be all about. Thank you for watching today. We're back again tomorrow. And actually, I'm going to do a quick break here with my merchandise, and I'll come back for some concluding remarks. I did a Substack this week. I hope some of you saw it, comparing what Chris Barber of the Freedom Convoy has gone through with his truck being potentially stolen by the Ontario government and destroyed, and what Katie and her family are going through at the Universal Ostrich. Chris Barber has been very supportive of the work I do, and he shared that Substack piece with all of his friends and followers. And today, he gave a shout out to Katie to say, hey, you're a brave woman, and what you're doing is fantastic, because you're doing the same thing that we did, the Freedom Convoy. You're fighting back against government overreach. And hope to have Chris on the show in the next week or so to talk about what's going on with Big Red, the truck, and Katie will be back on again if there's any new developments over the next couple of days. Thank you for watching today. Share this broadcast with your friends and family. We need to get the word out about this government's refusal to listen to parents and this government's complete desire to steamroll the rights, basic rights of not just farmers, but everybody in this country. It doesn't believe you have any rights. It wants you to know who's in charge, and it believes they are firmly in charge, and we don't have any rights left. Thank you for watching. This has been David Krayden, broadcasting to you live from Ottawa. Back again tomorrow. God bless, Godspeed to all of you.